Hello, it's me. It's the 17th of September 2022, and this is the latest episode of Built from Scratch. I was up at 5:15 with the kids this morning, so forgive me if my brain isn't quite up to speed. I think I might make that a recurring thing that I mention at the start of these videos, well, maybe for the next 2 or 3 years anyway, just so you can get some kind of understanding of how beaten down by early mornings I am. So what am I talking about today? Yeah, it's been and is continuing to be a bit of a rubbish week because of COVID-19 essentially. So yesterday I had a bit of a late start because our 1-year-old has got a cold and is therefore out of nursery because he's had a temperature, and at the moment, because of COVID, that means he can't be at nursery and we have to isolate ourselves as a family. So I was late starting work yesterday as me and my wife, that is, were repeatedly trying to book a test so he could get tested for COVID. And we were failing to do so. It seems that the UK testing system is pretty much in a state of collapse at the moment. We're in a period of exponential growth, the second wave of the virus, and bizarrely, not that I'm going to start talking politics particularly in these videos and podcasts, but I will just briefly comment that it seemed a little weird that despite scientists having said there will probably be another peak of this disease and that its growth is almost by its very nature exponential when it occurs, the government don't really seem to have done much by way of preparing for that. So at the moment, demand is vastly outstripping supply of tests. So that happened, and then I did get to work. So I did a few remaining bits of admin. Bearing in mind, I was late to work and I knew that I was going to be finishing early because I needed to go and help my wife out with the kids, basically. So it was kind of difficult to get into the flow of a real chunk of work. So I did some admin, including tidying up last month's receipts, of which there are few at the moment, but I do find that dealing with receipts takes up a disproportionate amount of time. I could cut down on that time if I wanted to, by just having some very basic way of recording them, as opposed to what I do at the moment, which is kind of gathering them all into one email inbox, putting them onto downloading and or saving the receipts and putting them into Google Drive, inputting the details of each receipt into the accountancy software that I use, and then going into Amazon and a couple of other places to download the actual invoices from that they provide, just because it sort of looks a bit better than saving emails. But I'm hopefully in this for the long haul, and at the end of the day, one option of leaving this this business, if I make a success of it, is by selling it. And I'm aware of the fact that if it comes to selling a business, it is helpful if you've got your books straight, and the simplest way of doing that excuse me, is to keep them straight from the word go. So that's what I'm trying to do. I then realised that the Facebook page that I put together just to display all these videos and posts on Facebook is not actually published, or wasn't. So I published it. I was slightly hesitant to do so when I realised it wasn't previously published, because I know from having previously set up a secondary personal profile on Facebook that it will note, it sees the link between your secondary profile and your primary one. I sent the secondary one up in case you're wondering, because I joined a sports club that had a Facebook group. But some years ago, I stopped using Facebook in the way that most people do. I just wanted to sign up purely to keep up to date with what was going on in this sports club. So what I'm trying to say is I didn't even really want to look at my old profile because I tend to get dragged into actually looking at everything everyone's written, and I don't really want to. So in order to avoid that, I set up a second profile. But what I found is Facebook took, oh my god, try and speak correctly. Facebook put two and two together about the ownership of these two profiles and ended up inviting all my friends on both profiles to request a friendship of the other profile, which was kind of embarrassing and annoying. Embarrassing because various people then asked me, why have you got two profiles on Facebook? And I had to explain, and it was just annoying. So I'm kind of hoping that the same thing doesn't happen again now, with both of those groups getting spammed with details of this very early stages attempt at setting up a business. Again, because I don't want to bother them, but also because I try not to be embarrassed about the things that I do, but clearly there is potential for embarrassment there. I think, if I'm being honest, the main reason is because this could fail, and I'm not the most egotistical of people. I don't mind too much if I try setting this up, it fails and people know about it, but I suppose in order to protect myself a little bit, I don't really want everyone I've ever known to know that I'm doing this. For that reason. So anyway, I hit the publish button just because I'd already set it up. That's what it's there for. So just be a tiny bit brave and put it out there. And I guess at some point I'll get round to checking my other Facebook profiles and to see if anyone's been in touch about it. I got an email from Otter, the transcription app, saying that they were decreasing their price from £12 a month to £10, which is no big deal. Obviously, £2 a month saved is nothing massive, but I thought I'd just make a note of it because I think that's the first time I've ever been contacted out of the blue by a software as a service provider telling me that they were actually going to drop their price. So that's worth noting, I suppose. I guess that's probably happening because again, sorry to go on about COVID-19, but I think because of the virus, an awful lot more people and businesses have been using video conferencing and similar products over the last half a year or so. And I think Otter, this is not just me making this up, I think I've seen this mentioned on their blog a couple of times now. They've seen a very significant increase in use of their app over the last few months. I guess because, well, I don't know really. There's no direct link, I suppose, between doing video conferencing and transcribing the results, but maybe it just means some people who otherwise wouldn't have started going down the route of using a little bit of tech in conference and meeting situations, and so maybe because they've started going down that route, they've then taken the next step to considering transcription. I know in the last 9-to-5 type job that I was doing, I was put in charge of minuting meetings a couple of times, and I used Otter for that. So maybe that's why that's happening, and therefore maybe they've decided to decrease the price because they've suddenly started making quite a lot more, and I've decided they can now afford to make it cheaper. So I then went on to read up on these hreflang tags that I keep going on about. I really should have had a go at putting them in place by now, but it's just not been the week for that. I'm probably not going to be working again tomorrow, but I'll get back to that in a second. So I at least got the opportunity to read up on them, specifically their relationship to canonical tags. And the conclusion that I drew from the couple of bits that I read is that firstly, implementing them is going to be fairly straightforward. In essence, they're just links like any other hyperlink between two of your pages, in which you point those two pages at each other using these same links, but the links just point out which language or region, geographical region, you want to be considered effectively the canonical version for that region. And speaking of which, the relationship with canonical tags was along the lines of, don't use canonical tags if you're using hreflang tags, apart from in one particular scenario, which I forget now. As is the case with an awful lot of stuff that I'm learning at the moment, I'm only really sort of hacking my way through learning stuff to suit my own needs. In other words, I'm ignoring extraneous information, and the solution that I was reading yesterday was one that involved for the pair of sites that I'm going to be doing this for, and it is just going to be a pair to start off with at least. The hreflang tags will do the job that I need them to do. I'm not going to need canonical, and there can be complications, so I kind of stopped reading there, and that's going to be my solution. Incidentally, reading about that answered a question that I've wondered about in the past, and I think researched and actually didn't find a simple answer to, although it would seem that the answer is quite simple. And the question is, what stops a person on their website stealing content from another person and applying a canonical tag to their version of it? And Google then would see that and see the canonical tag, and if the actual author had not put a canonical tag on their version of it, which they very may well not have, what stops Google then seeing the duplicate, seeing the canonical tag and treating it as canonical? And the answer is that canonical tags like hreflang tags have to have a mirror tag on the other page, on their sort of sister page, if you like, or the duplicate page. So in other words, if you just steal someone's content and put a canonical tag on it, if Google finds the original article and is trying to determine which is original, unless there's a canonical tag on the original page too, pointing at the duplicate page, it won't work. Sorry, that's one of them where I just realised as I'm trying to explain it, I haven't grasped it quite well enough to explain it. I can say for certain that you need the tag on both pages for it to work. What I'm hesitating over there is, I wonder, the two tags must look different. One must be the sort of parent canonical tag that says this page is canon, and presumably the other one must be a sort of subordinate canonical tag that says this one specifically isn't, and then they point at each other. I assume they point at each other just to strengthen that link. So the message to Google is, you need to look at these two pages, they have the same content, here's the parent, here's the subordinate. Okay, note to self, if you're going to try and explain something in a video, maybe read up on it a little bit better. Having said that, that's not the point of these videos. I just thought I'd have a go at explaining it, so maybe if I do a half-hearted job of such things, that's just the way it goes. Okay, so that's it. It was a short day, and that's all I got up to yesterday. The sort of good news was we
did manage to book in a COVID test. This was Tuesday, just so you know. But it's Thursday now, and the explanation for that is that yesterday I had to be off work completely because my wife was at work, so I had to stay at home to look after the kids. But we did manage to book a test, so we went and took them to the doctors yesterday, and now it's just a case of how quickly we get the result back. Possibly it might be early-ish tomorrow, in which case I actually get to work tomorrow, but I'm not getting my hopes up. I suspect I might not be back until Monday. So that's it, and I'll see you later.